The meeting was dubbed the Shirt Sleeve Summit, a way to discuss issues in an informal, relaxed atmosphere. I spoke to Capricia Penavic Marshall about this type of diplomacy. She was at the Sunnylands Summit and has organized several state visits for the White House.
It allowed the two of them to really get to know one another in an intimate setting. And so it sort of takes you out of all of the buzz and the noise of the formal framework of protocol and diplomacy, and really provides an opportunity for them to sit down and get to know one another like a place like Sunnylands does offer. And so, of course, the president will want to continue that conversation. I mean, I recall personally standing there and watching the two presidents literally roll up their shirt sleeves, because it was quite warm out in Palm Springs, but sit outside and just one-on-one without any staff, without any other members of the delegation, and looking to one another and really engaging in a real conversation with one another. That's what these moments are. They're so valuable. They get to talk one-on-one to one another, get to relate to each other as not only leaders, but as people, and truly understanding the situations that each of them are in, and how they can build this relationship for the future.
You mentioned atmosphere. Obviously, this also sets a certain tone during the conversation, but what does it do for the personal side, building and cultivating that personal relationship with that other leader that you may not see all the time?
Oh, well, you know, oftentimes they sort of veer away from the bigger subjects, and they begin to relate to one another on matters like their children. I watched as President Obama and President Xi discussed their children, and President Xi had explained to President Obama that his daughter was going to school, and oh, he's coming to the U.S. Oh, well, we should look out for her. And President Obama was telling President Xi about, you know, raising two teenage girls and all of the trials and tribulations that come with that. And he says, oh yes, of course, I understand that perfectly. And so it does provide that wonderful opportunity, as it did when they were at the Sunnylands resort, in a very intimate setting in the Annenberg residence, and away again from the formalities and the large, you know, back chairs and the stiff desks and all of that sometimes surround these, and to talk to one another as fathers, as husbands, as people concerned about their citizens, and less about the weighty issues.
You know, we saw with President Obama's trip to Beijing last year that there was another unscripted moment. Now here in Washington, D.C., is it harder to plan some of these personal moments, some privacy? What does it take into planning some of these moments?
You don't want it to be in a vastly public arena. You want it to be primarily private. You want to make sure also there are opportunities to move sometimes staff and delegations away, because they tend to want to always be around their leader. And so if the president turns to me and says, this is what I want, you certainly want to be able to deliver on creating that environment, that atmosphere for him, so that he can then engage and create, as you say, a certain tone to the visit.
For those who don't know much about the Blair House, can you explain what it is and why, again, he may have chosen this particular venue?
The Blair House is the president's guest house. It is a townhouse that is located directly across the street from the White House. And it is, again, this unique location that is intimate. The rooms are actually quite small in size, but filled with so much history and so many various artifacts and collectible items that talk about who we are as Americans.